Hi, everybody. This is Gary Kay, and this is a special video edition of my Rants and Raves podcast. As you can see, I'm joined by two people, not just one. It's always harder to have two on the line, but we are Zooming together here with Sam Taylor, who's the Executive VP and COO for Almo, and Jim Nista, who is the founder of Insteo, now the creative director of Insteo, the content creation services company that Almo just purchased. This is a big deal in our industry. Sam, first off, sort of how did this come together? Because I don't think anybody knew about it, and I don't think anybody realized that this was even a possibility.
Well, we've been using Jim's company as a third party to help us with our content creation services. He was doing such a fantastic job that we decided to buy him. But really, he really gets digital signage and content creation better than anybody I've ever seen and known. And he really has kind of a secret sauce and formula for making it easy for the integrators, easy for the end users. And our business has been growing because of some of his vision. And we felt it was better for both of us to be on the exact same side of the table. We were partners before, but now we're one company.
Yeah, and a lot of people know who Insteo is because you're definitely an award-winning company out there that's done a lot of really cool, high-profile signage projects. Insteo, Insteo.com. Jim, sort of how did the company get started? And did you start as a software content creation company, as an ad agency, or as a hardware provider? Where were the beginnings of all this?
Yeah, we started as digital marketing, and I don't know, I guess a little bit more than 10 years ago, we were asked to do some digital signage with Twitter. That was my first experience with digital signage, and we built a HTML widget all the way back then that displayed tweets at live events and never looked back. Where we've been going ever since. So we don't do a lot social media as much anymore. Not as important as a feature. We do a lot of small business content and also much larger projects as well.
The first time I ever saw that feature, and I don't know if they were using yours or not, was Mashable had it at South by Southwest about 10 years ago. Was that your interface? Do you know, or do you remember?
I don't think that was ours. We did other work at South by Southwest. We actually were one of the first companies to do Foursquare connections. Mm-hmm. Who knows about that anymore?
Believe it or not, they're still around.
Yeah, exactly. So we were doing a lot of social connection, but the industry started changing. There just wasn't as much of a demand for it. So we just kept going with digital signage into locally generated content.
Yeah, and of course, anyone who's in the digital signage market knows Insteo. And Sam, obviously, this sort of works really well into your strategy, the no-box strategy that you have, which is sort of wrapping all of your services together into one service offering. And I think what you've kind of aimed yourself at is helping integrators enter and add services to their portfolio. And one of the problems has been with digital signage is we do a really good job as an industry of dropping hardware everywhere, but we don't really do a good job of content creation and management. And I think this beefs that up quite a bit.
Yeah, and that's part of the overall purpose. I mean, a lot of integrators are still fearful of doing the content, but we really make it easy for them. We help them develop a statement of work with their customer, and also we have templates for a lot of the projects where really we can tell the integrator up front what the cost is going to be for a standard project. Let's say for a menu board or for a lobby directory or donor board, here's what it's going to cost.
And the idea behind that is that this allows an integrator who's already providing 75% of the signage to provide the other 25%, which is the content. But the nice thing about the content, Jim, is that it's recurring revenue opportunity too, because generally the content changes, or good signage networks, the content's going to change often, especially in the retail environment. So I assume that that's a big driving force in sort of the direction that you see this going in the future, is offering that recurring revenue opportunity.
Yeah, it is. And also there's another aspect of that is right now, especially for small and medium businesses, the software packages are too complicated for them to use often. So changing a menu board means they have to sometimes use Adobe Illustrator to do those changes. Mm-hmm. So oftentimes we're doing connections to data sources and things like that. So complex projects, but delivered for small companies so that they can edit the data that goes into their menu themselves. I always say that, if Joe from Joe's Pizza has to call a graphic designer to change their digital menu, they didn't really get much, right? Joe from Joe's Pizza needs to be able to change the price of the pizza himself without having to jump through hoops. So oftentimes we're using different software solutions or even connections over to Google Sheets so that they can go into Google Sheets and change the price of the pizza there. So it is the recurring opportunities are huge, but also there's this whole other subset of the market that doesn't want to have to pay ongoing fees. They want to be able to do it themselves.
And what you're talking about is simplifying the sort of normal operation of the network, but also I was also referring to, and I think that's great, but I was also referring to sort of the role an ad agency would play normally, which is creating content that's engaging and that people want to see regularly. And that's something that even the best Joe's Pizza is not going to be able to do. And certainly the average AV integrator is not going to be able to do. They're going to need someone like your firm who's got that sort of creative vision for how to draw it to the next level. And this allows them to do, Sam, more than just doctors and dentist offices and local companies. This allows them to get engaged in much larger projects.
Yeah, exactly. And and it's simple for them. Plus it keeps them engaged with the customer. So let's say they do a rollout for a medium-sized restaurant chain, and 3 years later, when there's going to be a technology refresh, if they've been working alongside the integrator, the integrator's been working alongside the end user, providing content and changes, which A, they're getting the recurring revenue, but B, when that project comes around for a technology refresh, they're going to choose the trusted partner, all things being equal. So it's a really great way for the integrator to stay relevant to that end user and not just be a one-time win.
Yeah, and you kind of have, I'd say, layers of offerings, because your cloud signage product is really interesting because that's I'd say non-premise based, browser based offering that I think it's sort of like it's as easy to use as PowerPoint. Like you kind of play around with it for a little while and you figure out how to use it, and then you can step all the way up to a fully premise based or centrally managed based network. Do you see that offering? I guess this question for both of you. Is this where you see this staying, or are you going to narrow that a little bit more, or do you kind of see this sort of exploding in all different directions? Like, where's the focus, I guess?
Jim, I'll let you start off.
Well, from a software perspective, we actually work with a lot of different software tools. We do work with other content management systems from time to time because, well, frankly, for one reason, sometimes a CMS manufacturer brings us a project. So that is something that we hope to continue. But I had mentioned, I've actually done a presentation at DSE this year. It was called Digital Signage 2.0, which is a major comparison to what happened with websites moving from just static imagery and brochureware of 20 years ago to data-driven, easier to update, more, WordPress, CMS, those types of things coming online that empowered the website owner to make their own changes, to keep it fresh, do things themselves, put a lot of that day-to-day editing power back in their hands. And that's really what we find is where things are changing. We're moving away from slideshow digital signage or just slides and videos that their agency would create to more template-based content that they can go in and update with and still have it look beautiful and professional and everything else. So that's where I see things going. That's oddly enough being driven by the end customers and by the smallest ones. Very strange that they don't use the terms that we do, but they'll say, I want to be able to edit this just like I do on my website. Mm-hmm. And right now a lot of the solutions that they're being proposed are your digital menu or your digital signage is going to be slideshow based, and that means you can't easily go in and edit it yourself. So that's really where we've been working together. We've used our own software tools to essentially build plugins for some of these content management systems that don't offer line-by-line data editing services or data connections over to like their Outlook or Exchange server and those types of things. So it's very funny that a small end customer will ask for some very big things, but it's just because they know that they can do that on their website.
Yeah, it does. I agree with the analogy of how the web sort of developed is exactly the same. So you're going to have to do digital science 3.0 because, as you know, the web's moved to 3.0.
Yes.
So I look forward to seeing that at the next, which I guess would be a little bit of voice control, AI here and there, and some monitoring. Sam, congratulations. I think this is a great partnership. Our industry is always, I've always felt like we've left a lot on the table that we could have gobbled up, and we've turned it over to other segments of the industry. And actually, quite honestly, Jim, in an indirect way, you can probably thank our industry for helping your company grow, because if it weren't for us shoving all that hardware out there, you'd have no really content to put it on. So I think that's the area that we have fallen down on. And I think the marriage of your two organizations will be able to help that. And I do think this fits into your no-box strategy. So congratulations on that.
Well, thank you very much. Yeah, we're really excited and happy to have Jim aboard with his team. And it's going to just really accelerate what we've already been doing.
And for now, to get engaged, do they just go to their Almo rep? Do they go to almoproav.com, insteo.com? What's the best sort of path for them?
The best path is for them to call their Almo rep. And if they don't know who their Almo rep is, just call in and to our 800 number, and they'll be directed, or go to our website and look online. We have a map directory of where our salespeople are located throughout the U.S., and they can select somebody that's in their geography and ready, willing, and able to help.
Well, I look forward to seeing where this goes. And of course, find out more information, go to almoproav.com. We've got the story on this at ravepubs.com, a little bit of insight from what I see happening here. And of course, we'll link that in the description of this podcast. And Jim, you're in Long Beach right now, right? Isn't that where you are? My daughter was born right down the street there at Long Beach Memorial. So I'm very familiar with Long Beach. I lived there for quite a few years. And so I hope to someday take a tour of your facility. And thanks for joining me today, guys. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Gary. Have a great day.
Thank you. And thanks for watching. And of course, you can see all of our coverage of everything we cover in the industry at ravepubs.com.